You're listening to The Watchers, a show where two women from opposite ends of New Jersey watch TV about grumpy bitches saving the world. Shout out to all the grumpy bitches out there. I feel ya. Life is hard. People are stupid.
We talked last week with Marlon about, like, seeing yourself on screen. And man, do I love Carol.
You going to be a grumpy desert lesbian?
Not the desert part so much, but yeah.
You're Andrea.
I'm Andrea.
And I'm Jodie.
You're Jodie.
Mm-hmm.
We watched
Pluribus.
Episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yes. We are, just as a reminder to folks, we are going to do this 3 episodes at a time. So 1 through 3 today, 4 through 6 next week, and then the last 3 right after the finale. Because I think there'll be a week in between, which we're probably going to do our best of the year episode in there. But we weren't sure about, or I wasn't sure about doing this show at first. And now I'm all in. I'm all in.
Yeah. So we just watched episode 6 this week.
Right.
That's where we are. And I'll say I really liked a whole lot most of the first episode. I loved the last 5 minutes. And then every episode since has added more and more for me to really love. This show just feels like it's a show that if I got to it late, I would have been really disappointed. I'm glad that we both started watching this. I texted you. I said, "Are you watching Pluribus?" And you were like, "Obviously." Yeah,
obviously. Yes. If there's a TV show that you think I could be watching, I'm probably watching it and just not talking about it. I had heard about it first on another podcast. Some more insidery people that got screeners and were really excited about it. Obviously, we mentioned this, but I watched Breaking Bad and so did you. I also watched Better Call Saul during the pandemic, which, it's a great show, but it is really dark and it was a really dark time. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have the memories of it in the same way that I do Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
but
I love Breaking Bad. I've rewatched Breaking Bad. It's one of my favorites. Haven't watched Better Call Saul for that reason. I could feel that it wouldn't be the time for it, and I haven't gone back. I probably will now because I didn't know Ray Seahorn really from anything. Yeah. And I'm obsessed with her.
She's so good in Better Call Saul. Her ponytail in that show is iconic. She's so good. She's the best part of that show to me. And I love Bob Odenkirk, but his character of Jimmy, I found
difficult,
frustrating.
Right.
Yeah. Charming and sweet at times, but frustrating. Mm-hmm. And she is so no nonsense and so smart in that show. Oh, and I love her so much. So I was going to watch this regardless because of her, because I really liked her. Mm-hmm. But then the way it's playing with the genre is so fun. And of course, Vince Gilligan has a dark sense of humor that I adore.
He's the best.
So, yeah. We should do some background a little bit to kind of catch people up on, because most people I've discovered don't watch TV shows the way that we do, where we immediately start researching every little detail about everyone involved. So Vince Gilligan, prior to his Breaking Bad fame, was working on the X-Files, among other things. But that's the big one for us and for you.
That's right. And the famous story is that one of the episodes is one where Bryan Cranston was cast. And when they went to cast Breaking Bad, he was like, got to get that guy. And everybody else was like, the Malcolm in the Middle dad? Yeah. He was like, no. If you worked with him and saw, what he did on the X-Files, he can do this.
Yeah, exactly. He was also one of the showrunners of The Lone Gunman, the spinoff. This show, so people are already talking a ton about the connection of the ideas in it to AI. Again, we're not going to go past episode 3, but even then it was coming up. But he has had this thought and this idea he's been noodling on for over a decade. He said in a bunch of places that he's not against that interpretation at all, but it wasn't in his head when he was writing when he first came up with it, because he started thinking about this about 10 years ago.
Right. Well, and that's what's so fun about, I'm going to say something that I don't know if I believe it. I'm just going to start saying a feeling I just had, which is if you are a thoughtful, plugged in is not really the right, but kind of like nuanced, capacious
part of a hive mind
thinker.
Yeah.
And you are wrestling with big ideas. It is unsurprising that ways for your viewer to relate are going to ebb and flow and change, and new things are going to come up. Because I think, I don't know, everything on our planet kind of boils down to like 3 major questions, really. You know, like,
wow.
Again, I'm just kind of talking, but I think I agree with myself.
No.
It's like,
Yeah.
Do we have free will?
Free will.
Does it matter? What happens after you die?
Right.
And how important are other people? I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
And
I think we solved it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm going to go live in the desert now by myself.
I can't wait to get into, especially as we get into episodes 4 through 6, where some of the more like ethical, moral questions come up to see. I think we're going to learn a lot about the two of us in how we feel about some of the things that happen in this show.
Possible. Yeah. You have texted me multiple times that you'd be fine with the situation. So
I just think I would go along to get along, you know? Like,
yeah.
Especially because, okay, let's
go back.
Okay.
So he's been thinking about this for almost 10 years. He talked about this idea of, originally it was a man in his head, and it was someone who, there was this event, and suddenly everyone was super nice to him all the time and catering to his every whim. And that was sort of the kernel of the whole thing.
It's so cool to think about, or it's so cool to hear somebody like Vince Gilligan's process.
Yeah.
Where, like, because he talks about it, we're going to reference a lot. Go listen to the official Pluribus podcast.
Yeah, it's really good.
I am usually kind of prickly about official show podcasts because I'm like, let us have one thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, not just you and me, but like, let So, but I think this one is so good. I love how granular it gets sometimes, but you get to hear him talk about that, what you were just talking about. And it's so fun where he's like, I had this kind of broad idea, which is what you just described. And then as he's thinking about it, he's realizing what the issues are. One being like, well, a guy who gets whatever he wants all the time, there's no like happy people. There's no like, I forget what the actual quote is, but he says something like there's nothing interesting about happy people.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, the tagline of the show is the most miserable person on earth must save the world from happiness.
So funny.
Yeah. He also references things like The Twilight Zone, obviously, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He's a student, basically, of historical, like, horror television and sci-fi. He was a sci-fi guy before he was the meth guy. So,
well, obviously coming from X-Files.
Yeah, exactly.
And we talked about The Twilight Zone. I love that show unsurprisingly so much. It's one of my absolute favorite shows.
Well, I think one of the reasons I was resistant to this at first was because I'm not a sci-fi person. Like, I used to be a horror reader and a fantasy reader, not romantic fantasy, but like, you know, and not anti-sci-fi. But for some reason, as I've gotten older, it's just not a genre I'm super drawn to. I have some resistance to it. But the Ray Seahorn of it all kind of got me past that initial hurdle. And now it's so much, I feel like the sci-fi part of it is like, like, it's not as important to actually care about that. There's so much more going on.
There's so much more going on. And the cool thing about the Twilight Zone is it is like you said something a few minutes ago about how the show plays with genre. And I think Twilight Zone in its own way did too. I mean, obviously because it was an anthology series, each episode, not so much across, but like dabbled, and you can kind of see all that coming together. And then just like the little Twilight Zone fun fact while we're talking about the Twilight Zone is Carol's last name, Sturka.
Sturka,
From pretty, there are a bazillion episodes of the Twilight Zone, and there are a handful that are pretty like more famous or well known, and the one that William Sturka is a character in one that is, I want to
talk about her name while we're on this though.
Okay. I don't want to say too much about that episode now because I don't know. It's funny. I don't know. I guess we can because we don't have anything here. Okay, off mic. I want to, or not off mic. We'll keep this on mic. Because you and I are a couple episodes ahead. I want to make sure that our listeners can know and trust that any speculating we do about what's happening that hasn't been confirmed yet is contained to what we know from these 3 episodes. Because I have some theories brewing that we don't have enough info from yet for me to share on mic. So I'll save those. But so, for example, now, knowing we knew Carol's last name the first episode, if you Google Sturka, you find this out, and Vince Gilligan has talked about it. So what would you like to say about Carol's name?
Just about her first name.
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
So 2 things about that. Number 1, Carol is perfect Karen adjacent first name, but not Karen.
Yeah.
Number 2, he chose Carol because of his love for Carol Burnett, which is fucking incredible.
And it's so good. And that name, Carol Burnett, and then Sturka coming from a really bleak episode of The Twilight Zone, putting those 2 things together is like
wacky.
Exactly.
It's wacky.
It fits so well for the tone of this show. Yeah.
So he started really moving on this while they were wrapping up Better Call Saul. And he told, this story has been told a lot, but if you're not constantly online looking at TV content like we are, you might not know this. Basically, he told Ray Seahorn that he had a role that he had written just for her, but he wasn't ready to give her the script. And she was just like, I'm in. I'll take it. Whatever it is, I don't care.
I love her. She seems so cool and game and
she's
excited.
Cool.
And
Yeah. She's like, whatever it is, I'm in. And then apparently he was so worried that she would end up on another project before he got to it that he asked the producer to let him know if she heard any whispers about her taking a different job.
I love that. I love too, originally his idea for this was a dude. And then when he was like, well, I want to work with Ray, I love this thing, we'll just make it a woman. And then that opens up, there's so much more. Forgive me for feeling like this story is more interesting with a woman at the center, but I think it is.
Yeah.
A queer woman at the center.
Yeah. And I love the idea of she is, I think, our hero. He's talked about how he wanted to write a hero specifically after writing kind of villains and anti-heroes, but she's not very likable. But
it's what I said last week about Trisha on Somebody Somewhere, that it's so, I mean, I like Carol, I think, again, because I'm a little more miserable than you are in general, I think. And so but I love,
depends on the day.
I love a character who is lovable even when they're not likable.
Well, and there's so much stupid discourse right now online about likable women that I'm not trying to bring us into.
Right.
I just think that I like her because I feel like she's smart and funny. I feel like she's someone who, in her current state, in episodes 1 through 3, I would love to hang out with for an evening and then go home.
Right.
And be like, wow, that was a lot of negativity, but that was really funny. But I want to talk about, real quick, while we're on it, how the whole thing started to come together, because he finally sent her some scripts when she was, this is the quote, he finally sent it when Seahorn was on vacation with her family at an adult camp in New Hampshire with spotty cell service. Did you read this?
What do you think an adult camp is?
I mean, lots of day camps, or not day camps, lots of sleepaway camps rent themselves out for adult adventures.
That's, you know what? That's true.
Yeah. She said you had to crouch in the corner of a room or climb a tree and get an antenna with oil on it to get internet.
Oil?
I
didn't know that was a thing.
I don't think it is. Oh. She said she was such a nervous wreck that she made her husband read it first, studying his face as he scrolled through the pages.
Hilarious.
Which is so sweet.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't think she certainly has said she wasn't nervous that it would be bad. She was just nervous because it was such a big deal.
Of course.
To be have something written for you by someone so important and successful.
Yeah, I think that is a totally reasonable reaction to that. Yeah.
So he started kind of shopping the show, and it apparently ignited the first bidding war he's ever had.
It's very cool.
Which is cool.
Yeah, good for him.
And he ended up at Apple TV because they apparently promised him the 2 gifts of trust and time.
Hey.
And they guaranteed to. Yeah.
Our Severance listeners or fans or whatever,
Yeah.
they know that Apple TV will
Gives you time.
give you time.
So much time.
And trust. This show, I was trying to figure out, it's brand new. I've never seen anything like it. It also felt really familiar to me in a lot of ways. And I think what I'm feeling is like the way that shows like Severance and Lost, and I kept thinking, and maybe it's the post-apocalypticness of it, Station 11, that are allowed to define their weird worlds in a way that doesn't feel like somebody is outside telling them it needs to be more understandable or relatable.
Or connected to some other IP.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and also the two of the heads of the studio that were at Apple were the same people that greenlit Breaking Bad at Sony like 18 years prior.
So there's
cool. A trust there too. But you're right. And it feels like its own very defined world.
Yes.
Like from kind of like you said, the last 5 minutes of the first episode, it before that does feel very Last of Us, Station 11, Silo. Like there's been this slew of post-apocalyptic shows recently for, I wonder why, that it is, I think, purposely playing with in the first episode to kind of draw you into this idea and then flip it on its head a little bit.
And it's so smart to do that. There are a couple of things happening throughout this series where, and I talked to you a little bit about one of them where I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm interested in like dealing with this question right now. And then when I realized what they were doing with it, I was like, oh, it's actually so smart to give us something that we have seen explored before, show it to us like they do in this first episode.
Okay. And I was trying to figure out what you're talking about.
And then totally like add a new layer, complicate it, flip it in a way that I've never seen anyone consider, like an angle this thing has been considered from before. It's really cool.
Yeah. And the fact that she's a writer also, I think, is both something that's been done a million times, but is being done slightly differently here. So we just watched, but we watched Misery. We've watched other movies and TV that have a writer at the center. It's a favorite topic, I think, of writers of things to write about other writers. But he said when talking about it, I liked the idea of a writer being tasked to save the world because there's no one less equipped to save the world than a writer, which is just perfect. I also appreciate the fact that my 4 years of Latin in high school made it so that I knew immediately what this was referencing. I mean, hopefully most people did, but hopefully you don't need 4 years of Latin to recognize that that's on every dollar bill that's ever existed, but still. And I still have one Latin phrase in my head. It's, what is the weather today? I know how to say that.
It's an important one, I'll bet.
Well, my teacher, shout out Doc Hewitt, would ask us that every day when he walked into class.
And then you'd have to, do you remember any weather words?
Nope.
Just
the question. Yep. I spent a lot of time not paying attention in that class, but I took it for 4 years because I liked him.
Not to I may be overworking the metaphor, and it is an obvious one, but, out of many, one, which is what happens in the show. But also, I don't know, United States out of many, one. We're not, even
we're doing so well with that.
Well, even when it was just the 13 colonies,
yeah,
we weren't doing great then either. So it is, there's a little bit of irony in our U.S. motto, and kind of always has been. So
yeah. So they started filming in 2024. They got interrupted by the writer's strike. They had an actor's strike. They had written, I think, all but 2 episodes before that happened. So when they came back, they finished the last 2. They started filming. They ended up filming in Albuquerque again, which wasn't his first idea, but he realized that they had built such a great stable of people. Apparently, if you work with Vince Gilligan once, he's loyal. He comes back and hires you again and again as long as you do a good job. And everyone that's worked with him has been he's made my career, basically.
I love that. And
I know.
This is another example, again, I love how stories end up shaking out, because they said, like, well, we, decided to film there, and then we thought, well, maybe we'll treat it like LA, but that's so logistically difficult. Like, we'll just set it in Albuquerque. And I think it's so cool. It's like such a specific looking place. It feels a little alien to me as someone from the East Coast. Like,
right. Well, and they built that whole cul-de-sac.
Yeah, they built this city on
rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But this is another thing that connects to our podcast, which is the fact that one of the many reasons they built an entire cul-de-sac is because they didn't want the situation that happened with the Breaking Bad house to happen again, with people throwing pizzas on top of it. Shout out to the house from
I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's available for physical purchase now. So if you're somebody, who likes physical media, you can pick up the Blu-ray. It's got a bunch of extra features and stuff too. So I'll drop a link in the show notes. And again, if you haven't seen that documentary, it's so fun. Go watch.
Yeah,
the house from.
For people who weren't there, it was the house from Tommy Avalone, who did the film, and it's all the different like houses that we know from famous TV and movies. It was great,
many of which we've covered, and and then you can listen to
famously
our conversation
the Breaking
with
Bad
Tommy.
house.
That's right,
with the pizzas on the roof.
Horrible.
Yikes. The original title, the working title, was Waikaro 339, which I'm like, what does that mean? But each episode, I think the other thing, when you were talking about the look of it, I thought you were going to talk about the look of very expensive Apple TV shows.
Oh, also that. Yeah. They just look great and, again, so expensive.
15 million budget per episode.
I mean,
wild.
The more we get to see of Carol's house, it is like, I mean, I know that's not like,
that's not where the money's going necessarily,
but it just looks, the show just looks incredible. Yeah. And then like, we'll get into a little more specifics filmmaking for each episode, but listening to them talk about building Air Force One and like none of that is cheap. Like, it's crazy.
No. And they filmed on location a ton. Like this scene in I think it's in 2 with Pirate Lady where they're in Spain or they're in like Basque country for the meeting. That's actually there. Like, that's not a...
And you don't see a ton of it. Like,
but it's like one lawn with a gazebo
really
on it.
Can. I'm not going to pretend like I have such a careful eye that I can always tell if something is CGI versus... But there is something that just feels better. It just feels so tangible and...
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's only one scene that I have noticed it in, like a CGI thing, and it's later on, so I'm not going to bring it up right now. But for the most part, they did almost everything. They did everything they possibly could do practically.
That's so cool.
Which is very cool.
I love that so much.
To the point where those houses could have been actual, like, the only things they were missing were plumbing and electricity, but they were built in such a way that those things could have been added.
That's so cool.
They were built like actual houses. There was no drywall, but everything was like, solid.
I love it.
Crazy.
Vince was very quick to point out, it's gated, you can't get to it, don't try to find it.
Don't try to find it. I know. But also, like, he wanted to do that because he knew they were going to have, like, helicopters coming in the middle of the night and drones and, just to not be a horrible neighbor to people in Albuquerque.
Also that,
So, So we've talked in a bunch of the shows that we've covered about this idea of, like, how much in a mystery box type show, how much do you know ahead of time? How much do you have a solid idea of the ending? And he says, I think we have a pretty good idea of where it should end, but that doesn't mean he'll stick to it. One of the most important things I can do in the writer's room is not be too precious about the ideas. If we come up with a better way to end this thing, we will.
He just seems like the coolest. And
he's very thoughtful.
And especially because, like, with a show like Breaking Bad, or I'm assuming Better Call Saul, they feel so thought out and real, and you could see a show creator like that being really precious and controlled. But even down to like what happens on set when they're when they're filming, like, he will let change, and they're like in that in that first episode, like almost all of this stuff at the book signing is improv. I think that's so cool.
I love the guy with the sword.
3 quick things.
I mean, yeah, 3 quick things. Okay, sir. Yeah. So other folks involved, he's worked with a lot of, like, the production designer, Denise Pizzini. Dave Porter is the composer, also composed for Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Like, he just goes back to the same people over and over again.
I've been trying to find a Jersey connection for the show, and I am struggling. And I think maybe that's it. It's loyalty.
He's loyal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. That works. I'll take that for now until we find something else. Before we get into the cast and stuff, I want to just highlight the genre thing I mentioned at the beginning that you commented on. I'm like super interested in like the behind the scenes camera stuff and the like how color decisions are made and all of that. And he talked about, so in photography, there's a term bracketing, right? Where you bracket your exposures. You take the quote unquote correct one according to the camera and then one a little darker, one a little lighter to make sure you've covered your bases and then make the decision after the fact in editing. Apparently, he used this concept of bracketing in terms of when filming, bracketing the tone a little bit so he could find it later.
That's so cool. I didn't. Was that in the? It doesn't matter. Was that in the podcast? Where I found this,
but yeah, no, I've read a bunch of interviews and stuff with him recently. But it was so as someone who obviously comes from a camera photography background, like that idea of you're covering your bases so that you can make the decision later is common in terms of like exposure and things like that. But to think about it in terms of tone, like if you film a scene a couple of slightly different ways in terms of the like lack of humor, more humor, or like how dark it's getting. That's so interesting to think about because he is playing so much with genre and tone in every episode that like I understand needing that flexibility.
And that makes so much sense for how balanced. I think as we like, the things we watch, I really love something that does play with genre, that does play with tone, that can hold really serious beats right next to really funny beats or together. And it's one of
the reasons we liked Yellow Jackets.
Exactly.
Is because it's playing with that.
Yeah. And when you fuck it up, it's so obvious.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to see that he's so, again, unsurprising, but so thoughtful and really kind of like making sure he has what he needs to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about the cast a little bit, unless there's something else we should cover.
I don't think so. Not yet.
Okay. I will say that because in the first episode we're focused so much on Carol and her book tour, we should also mention that a few weeks back, 3 weeks ago, Apple Books released an 11-page excerpt from Bloodsong of Waikaro, the 4th book in Carol's Winds of Waikaro series. Yeah. The excerpt has a letter from the author in it and chapter 16 of the book.
Her character is so fleshed out and so real, and like you feel her so well that like you could hear that in her voice. It really feels like the Carol I know at this point, 6 episodes in, wrote that letter. Because it's like you can hear that it's like her publisher making her do it. She doesn't want to. She does think spoilers are, so it's really fun. I'll drop a link to that as well.
Oh yeah, it's so good. Also brought back memories of when I worked at Barnes & Noble and had to work author events. I think there was one, Cameron Diaz was there promoting some wellness book of some sort, was the one that I remember. But yeah, that Barnes & Noble, they all look the same. But when I first saw her in that episode in that Barnes & Noble in the 2nd floor, I was like, that looks very much like the one in Paramus, New Jersey. But I guess they just all look the same. I was like, why would they be in Paramus to film? So, okay. Let's talk about the people involved a little bit with the cast. So we talked about Ray Seahorn. The most important fact to me about her is that her idol is B. Arthur.
The rules.
Which is the best thing I've ever heard. And also explains the Golden Girls' presence. She studied painting, drawing, and architecture, as well as acting. So
pretty cool.
Love that for her. Not from New Jersey. She's from Virginia, but it's East Coast.
She's a coaster.
She's not a California kid.
That's right.
Carolina Vidra as Zosha. I knew her face, but I don't think I've watched any of the other things that she was in.
I know her. She has a pretty significant role. It's only a handful of episodes, but in the last season of House, that's what I knew her from.
Maybe that's why I know her face, because I
yeah.
watched all of House.
I
thought you were going to say True Blood.
Oh, I didn't get. Yeah, I watched the first 2 seasons of True Blood and then checked out, and I don't think she shows up until later on in that one as well.
She was also in Sneaky Pete with Bryan Cranston, which was after Breaking Bad.
Love her. She's also great in this.
She's fantastic. Yeah. She said that there was apparently she had hoped that working with Cranston would lead to an opportunity to be in a Vince Gilligan production.
Oh, well.
It worked.
There you go.
Yeah. Carlos Manuel Vesga as Manusos, who Carol talks to on the phone from the airplane, who we haven't met yet. But it seems pretty clear if he's another immune person and one that is perfectly willing to curse at and hang up on Carol, that we'll probably see him at some point. Miriam Shore as Helen. Miriam Shore, apparently, I did not know this, was an original cast member of Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
It's very cool.
Yes.
Another one. I wasn't really familiar with anybody in this really except for Zosha, and then that barely. So.
Yeah. For me, it was like there were faces I recognized from other things but had no idea where to place them from. Also, Miriam Shore was listed as the quote-unquote crying neighbor in an episode of Broad City. I love the New York connections. Yeah. There's another one of those coming up. But I want to talk about Mr. Diabate. We have to be careful here because we can only talk about him in the context of 2.
Do you think, real quick, again, for our listeners, you have to watch the show. We're not going to do a scene-by-scene recap. Episode 1, like we said, book tour, virus breakout. Do we want to wait until we get to him to talk about him, or should we just do it here? I know we're not going to go episode by episode.
I want to talk about the actor here.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. So the actor is Samba Shute. Shoot, I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm so sorry. Shute. He was Roach in Our Flag Means Death.
A show that I haven't watched, but I just...
You haven't watched? I assumed you had.
I know that I will love it. It's, again, another one of those things that I didn't get to, and now put it on my to-watch list this morning. So
yeah,
I'll get
he
to
also
it.
has a background in stand-up. He played Hakeem in Sunnyside, which was a show that was on NBC. It was a sitcom. That was his sort of like breakthrough TV role. He was an Ethiopian heart surgeon driving a taxi in New York.
Interesting.
But he's great. I do want to talk about his coming to the show, because this is super interesting. So we don't know a lot about his background, right? We just know him as the guy who requested Air Force One, who seems like maybe it's okay that there's no crime or murder anymore.
I just kind of think I would be somewhere between Carol and Diabate, because I think, first of all, it might take me a long time to realize what was going on, because I am happy to be in my house alone. I don't know. I wouldn't have been on a book tour. But then once I figured out what was up, why not ask for Air Force One?
Yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves, though. I want to pause this conversation because I'm still going through the cast.
Okay, you're right. You're so right.
But we're almost there. But I did want to just mention this because we're talking about this character and the actor. I saw a really cute anecdote because basically he has created a bit of a backstory for this character that we are not privy to. But the reason for it is that when he got the audition sides, they were like dummy sides, and they called him Mr. Kumba, Koumba. And he said, and I was like, Mr. Kumba in Mauritania, which is where he's from. Kumba is a woman's name. But I did the audition, and once I got the part, I told Vince, I actually loved that you called him Mr. Kumba, because in my culture, the only way a man takes on a woman's name is if his mother has passed away during childbirth. That informed me very much about who this guy is. If you notice, he doesn't have family members like the other originals. He's surrounding himself with supermodels. So I think he came from a place of not having family around him, not having real people he cares about. And apparently Vince was like, oh, I had no idea. And he was like, no, it's okay. Just embrace the compliment. And Vince was like, okay, great. And he said, we kept the name because I thought it really informed who this guy was. He didn't have a mother figure. He probably didn't have any close family growing up. So, of course, now that he has this candy store, his desire as a child, he's going to walk in and try everything because finally he can. So that was a beautiful fluke that stuck in a beautiful way. So I just thought that was really interesting because as we go forward watching this character, to think about this like backstory that was created by the actor is really interesting.
Yeah. And I think it feels to me like even just what little we get of him in the first step in 2, where like, again, we don't know his motivations. We don't know how honest he's being. We don't know any of that. But I loved him immediately. And there's just I know that like
I don't know if I loved him immediately, but I was charmed by him.
Which is all it takes for me.
Suspicious of, but also charmed.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we're going to learn a lot about ourselves in this recap.
Sure.
I think.
I also just want to, so we're going to get into episode 1, and there's a couple of people that we see here that so far haven't come back. And I just wanted to mention, so in that first episode, there are a couple of scientists that we meet that we then don't see again. One of them is played, Dave, is played by Woody Fu, who is a comedian and actor who has a one-man show, or had a one-man show at Fringe called One Man John Wick.
Caller, thank you so much,
exploration
sincerely,
of Keanu Reeves'
for calling up,
persona
for having so many stories about who you are, who you're about to be. Hope everything goes well with that career shift.
Gonna follow that,
and hope that you continue to find peace,
There's
happiness.
Also the very first person that we really kind of
see
in this show is
fit and make sense for you.
One of the other scientists.
It's awesome, and thanks for getting vulnerable.
And he's played by Alan
Thanks so much to our producer Andrea Quinn. Thanks to Shellshag for our theme music. If you want to know more about me,
he's a UCB
including
guy,
upcoming live dates,
like long-term character.
punchup.live/Chris Gethard. We're on Instagram. We're on Blue Sky. We have a discussion group on Facebook. Let the world know that we're out here. And don't forget to sign up at beautifulanonymous.com.
Just a quick, like, we're not going to go scene by scene. So just a quick overview of what happens, right? We start out at this space science facility. It's actually the same site that's featured in Contact. It is a real place that does like all of those 27 giant antennas, the dishes, operate together apparently as a single massive telescope, which I don't understand that, but okay.
I love this mechanic for introducing us to some new thing in a story. And I can't think of any specific examples off the top of my head, but as we were watching this, and I knew nothing about the show going into it except that everybody loved it. It was Vince Gilligan. But you know immediately, like, these aren't our people, you know? You can kind of feel that, like...
Yeah, well, so I wrote down 2 references while I was watching this for the second time. I wrote, this has real genius vibes.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
A bunch of like bro-y scientist folks out in the desert, like playing with stuff, talking about gigawatts, right? I was like, real genius. And then also it felt almost a little Spaceballs to me.
Hilarious.
Like the raspberry, like, you know, no one gives me the raspberry. It just felt a little bit like these people are both incredibly smart and also incredibly dumb in other ways, playing with things that they probably shouldn't.
Those chatty Cathys at the Forest Service.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not bouncing off the moon, Dave. Like, there's a lot of that kind of humor in there that felt very real genius.
Yeah, I could totally feel that. And
so they detect this code coming from outer space. Over the course of a year, they reproduce this like viral sequence in a lab. It becomes like, you know, one of Vince Gilligan's favorite things to do, which is a choreographed scene of lots of people like working in a lab together. And it's not as coordinated as it is later, but it's still like very Vince Gilligan, all the color coded like gowns and stuff.
And so much orchestration. He really does. Like the sound. There are scenes throughout the Sprouts scene where everything is so, and it's just so orchestrated about movement, and it's really cool.
One night there's an outbreak where a rat bites a worker. All I could think about was the gerbil that bit me when I was a child. You do not trust those things. And so this infection starts. It causes people to kind of freeze temporarily and then reanimate, it seems. We meet Carol Sturka at her book talk with her partner, Helen. She's a romance fantasy writer who's sort of grumpy and looks down on her readers. After they get back to Albuquerque, where they're from the book tour, they go to a bar before going home, and the full outbreak starts and gets everybody. And so all of a sudden, everyone except for Carol is convulsing and then freezing and then reanimating. Some people die in this process, including her partner, Helen. And the whole first episode from then on is her reaction to this outbreak. She brings Helen home to their house in Albuquerque, while being like followed by people that are very sort of kindly offering help, but in a extremely creepy way.
Yeah, in a way that feels in this so far really ominous. Like,
yeah, this whole thing is filmed like Last of Us or the outbreak part of Station 11. Like,
exactly,
it's all very dark. It's happening at night. She's fleeing in her truck with her partner's body in the back.
Like fires and crashed cars and
right. And so they get to her house, they get inside, there's two little Children of the Corn types outside telling her where her spare key is. And then she sees a TV broadcast. She's like, oh, thank God. God bless America.
God bless America is so funny.
It's such a good line. But it is not the president. It is Davis Taffler, who is like an undersecretary of agriculture of some sort, or was. Now he is part of a we. And he kind of explains directly to Carol, through the television screen, that apparently the virus has transformed humanity into this hive mind. It's wonderful. It's great. And there's like 11 of them or 11 others that appear to be immune. And that they won't force her to become one of them, but they would like her to. And they will try to convince her that it's the best idea.
And he says that, and it is hard to trust that, yes. I think, at least for Carol.
Well, he's the affect that the joined, as they've been called, or the others.
Or the others? Lost.
Very lost. I know. Is very disconcerting. They have a sort of content, sort of smiling, peaceful, nothing behind the eyes affect that's a little bit disturbing.
Yeah. And that's where they leave us. As you're saying that's one of the things that I've heard them talk about is like how to keep that expression actually pleasant, because these people are supposed to, as far as we know, be happy with this, but not mindless necessarily. They're just all plugged in. Well, and so
the big thing I think there is like they have combined consciousness with everyone in the world. And so they have all the knowledge and memories and history of every single person that has joined in, including Helen, her partner, who died. But before dying, she joined them. So they have all of Helen's memories, which is important because it keeps coming up. And so the other piece here is that Carol was in the closet. Her protagonist in her novels was a man, originally had been planned to be a woman, but she was worried that it would affect her success in her career. So she's been in the closet this whole time. And now that all the consciousnesses have joined, everyone knows everything about everyone and nothing is a secret anymore.
That's the other thing is like, they're not mind readers. They're just all networked. Right. And so they know that because of Helen, but not, I think that's it's a cool way to keep the tension with Carol and everybody else.
There's a fun phone number on the screen that if you call, you get a recording.
I'm a sucker for it. Lost.
I know.
Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, it's great. But that last 5 minutes is a real tone shift from the majority of the episode that feels like a horror movie. Suddenly we're in this place where we're a little bit in Carol's shoes, because we're like, you're being very nice. You're telling me I have free will and you're not going to do anything to me without my consent. But this is fucking strange.
Right. But
and I don't trust any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to check in with our resident scientist? Not directly, but I have some information.
Yes, please.
I sent Daniel, who listeners might remember from the X-Files. I think that's the only time we brought him in here. I love to ask him about any science ever, despite the fact that, like, when I had my Battlestar Galactica podcast, I brought him on to talk about rocket science.
I was actually going to ask you if you had or would ask him about this.
In fact, I did.
And I figured you had, yeah.
Yeah. This is his field. Daniel is a protein chemist. He's a Harvard trained. He's going to hate that I said that. He went to a small research university in Cambridge.
Right.
And so he has not watched the show. He knows nothing about it. I'm going to read to you the helpful information, and then later we'll come back to this because he said something to me that I don't think Vince Gilligan and co. are expecting every casual watcher to have access to from what they gave us so far. That is a little bit seeding a theory for me, but I'm going to wait until probably next week to bring that up. So I'll just read you the information that I thought was interesting but didn't feel like a spoiler. So I sent Daniel a screenshot of the whiteboard from that montage where they're working things out. Yeah. And all I said was, anything worth remark in here? And he said, oh, yeah, that's all real, actually. They're doing cloning, which isn't the making of sheep. It's putting pieces of DNA together. They're also looking at evolution and homology of viral proteins. I'll see if I can figure out what they're looking at. And so I gave him a tiny little bit of information. It's from the very beginning of the first episode, blah, blah, blah. And he said, seems like it's an efflux pump, probably oriented toward drug resistance. It's found in bacteria and higher invertebrates, which might suggest vertical gene transfer at some point in evolutionary history. I don't know what that means. With a sequence as small as that, it's hard to tell for sure. But the only exact match I'm seeing is to hypothetical protein annotated in the genome of a frog. Which is like, well, and I was like, it's cool that you don't have an exact match because it's extraterrestrial as far as we know. He said, but probably it's for pumping toxic stuff out of cells, which I thought was fascinating because if it's linking everybody, is it doing that by, like, is it getting out all of the like toxic stuff? Is this a metaphor? Right. What is it? It's either way, what he's seeing, it seems, is something that pumps something out. And then he said something that he said that could be related to the resistance gene, because I said there are a few people who seem to be immune to it. And then the next thing he said to me is what we will save. That is so interesting. Listeners, come back next week. It's very cool.
I can't wait. And then we go into episode 2, and that tone shift continues. So there is like a lot of thought that goes into the color and the grading and the light. I was just
gonna say that it's so cool how it it matches shifts, but in a way that I don't.
So they talked about how in one of the official pod episodes about how the timeline, like the post-infection time in Albuquerque, they think of as like a Kodachrome color palette. So very, very vibrant, a little bit nostalgic, a little bit like color film in the 60s and 70s, that like, you know, family pictures kind of palette, which I think is really interesting because it is sort of that wash of nostalgia is a surface thing that they're putting onto this situation and making it even more creepy in the process. And the color palette changes depending on where you are too. But everything that's filmed around Carol, like the colors inside her house are different. The colors inside her house have a browner, softer tone to them. And part of that is obviously indoors and outdoors, but it is significantly differently graded as well. And so the things that happen in her house feel slightly more grounded or real than the things that happen when she's interacting with the others.
Right. It's very cool.
Yeah. Episode 2, Pirate Lady. What a name for the episode. It's perfect. Because we meet Zosha.
Yeah.
And so in this episode, we meet our sort of second main character, it seems, through these first 3 episodes anyway. The first however many minutes, this opening scene, there's no dialogue.
It's so Vince Gilligan.
It's very quiet.
He is so totally comfortable with that. Like,
yeah, there's no music.
He has no problem with getting quiet, with taking I was thinking about every time I hear this conversation about second screen viewing of people saying like, oh, showrunners are being told now that their shows have to be really in your face. They have to spell out what's happening. Dialogue gets like lazier because they're assuming the viewer is looking at their phone.
More exposition.
And so they need to be able to follow along. But like, that feels to me a little bit like one of those where it's like Poison in the Candy in Halloween, where it's like it never actually happened or it happened once and now everybody thinks it's like another, that it's like widespread, whatever. But it's like, I am so easily distracted. I am often, I hate to say, watching my shows with my phone in my hand.
Yeah.
Not with this one.
No, and you don't have to. That's the thing. It's like, I have seen people that don't love this show talk about it being slow. I don't find it slow at all. I find it comfortable.
Yes.
Like, I am not getting bored and distracted in the middle of it. I'm like,
I'm so locked in, yeah.
Even though it's pretty easy to summarize an episode with, like, in terms of the plot, there's not a ton that happens. Like, in episode 2, just to bring us back, like, we meet Zosha. We don't hear any dialogue. She's cleaning up bodies with other people, putting them in trucks and things like that. And then all of a sudden, just stands up, gets on a little scooter, goes to the airport, steps onto a giant cargo plane, and flies it to Albuquerque.
Right, because she can fly a plane now.
Because they have all the knowledge of all the people in the world. And she gets off the plane, she goes into the empty airport, goes into the bathroom, showers, is given hair extensions and all this crazy makeup and stuff, gets herself dressed, and then goes to Helen's.
That's right.
Pirate lady.
Goes to Carol's.
Sorry, Helen's, Carol's. Well, both.
Yeah.
Goes to Carol's. Where Carol is attempting...
I want to say one quick thing, because you mentioned Carol is in the closet, and she is. But what's interesting to me is you don't get the impression that Carol is not totally sure of who she is. It feels like, and you learn in the first episode, she says it's like one of the readers asks online, like, who she had in mind. She says George Clooney, it's safer, blah, blah, blah. She seems to really be thinking about, and maybe this is a cover, who knows deep down what Carol's got going on. I mean, she is prickly, and we know that is often, she's more than prickly, protection. But it feels, at least right now, as if it's almost a business decision that she is remaining this way. And Helen is her manager, so they can stay close. And so all of that to say, it doesn't feel to me like she's struggling with her sexuality internally.
No.
I just want to point that out as we meet beautiful Zosha.
Yes, we meet Zosha, and then after she gets cleaned up at the airport, she clearly goes to Carol's, where Carol is trying to figure out how to bury her wife, which is, like, Carol's in a bad state. She's been drinking, she's, like, struggling.
Oh, and we know she's got a history there because her car has a breathalyzer.
Yeah. So she shows up at Carol's with her sort of weird affect that they all seem to have, to offer help. She is concerned. They are concerned because Carol is struggling to dig a grave for her wife in the heat, not drinking water. Apparently the rock is volcanic and very difficult to dig into. And so she offers to help with the grave. And of course, Carol tells her to fuck off, basically. This is where we find out that Carol's anger can affect the others.
Yeah.
Because she kind of collapses.
Like, intensely, in fact.
Yeah. We also find out...
I want to start a Zosha near-death count. So this is one.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yep.
I think the two things that happen here before Carol meets the other English-speaking survivors specifically is this is when we learn that... the others have access to Helen because Carol realizes that the reason they've sent Zosha specifically is because she bears, apparently on Earth, because they're all connected, they can figure this out, the most resemblance to Raban.
She, in a very funny scene, holds the cover of the book up to her face and is like, what's going on here?
Yeah. And so that's sort of what really snaps Carol, is figuring out that the others have Helen in their head.
Carol is basically constantly enraged in these first 3 episodes, which I would be.
Totally.
But she demands to meet the other survivors, and so of course it's immediately organized. They meet up in Bilbao at the airport, and we meet Mr. Diabate. We meet the ones that are the most notable at this point are, well, actually, what is most notable at this point is that no one else seems upset about this. Like, and many of them, other than Mr. Diabate, seem to have family members who have joined, that they are either pretending are still their family members or are wishing they could join them. There's one in particular that just wants to join the hive.
And as far as we know, that's the thing too. It didn't really occur to me. Like, I kept being like, oh, Carol is really alone. Obviously, Helen dies, but like, it seems like Carol has no family. She doesn't call, as far as we see, to check in with anybody. I think that if I knew that the whole world, as far as I knew, who joined, but there were some survivors, I probably would call the people in my circle and just double check. Like, I really think I would start checking in on people, and it doesn't seem to occur to her to do so. And so that's probably part of it, is that, like, there isn't anybody she can pretend or not pretend, depending on how you want to think about it. Again, all of those people are still in there in some way. They're just all sort of mixed up, kind of. They're just all networked.
And the way that this is sort of demonstrated, other than the Helen thing, most disturbingly, is Ravi, the son of one of the survivors, who she is pretending is still just her normal son. But at this dinner they've organized for them in Spain, Carol starts asking him questions about gynecology.
I love her.
Like, which speculum he would use. Well, and Ravi obviously knows the answers.
Yeah. And then his mom is horrified because she's been, really has sort of been working to convince herself that things are. Yeah.
But a lot comes out at this dinner. We find out that the joined would prefer to be vegetarian. They cannot kill anything, including insects, flies, whatever.
Nothing.
Like, because Diabate wants a lobster. Right. I totally get it. I would also want one. But there wasn't one nearby that had died of natural causes, so they couldn't get him one. So we're learning there are a lot of rules, right?
But it is interesting because we know that in this happening, almost 900, it's like 886 million people died, but because it was not directly, right? They make it really clear in this episode that this is what whatever his, I don't want to use the word infected, whatever has changed these people, this extraterrestrial, as far as we know,
virus of some kind, or
that's the shorthand in the show, so that's what we'll call it. It's a biological imperative for them to like make the shorting happen. So those 886 million people that died, like, they didn't want that to happen. Obviously they would have been happier, or however you want to call it, like, if that hadn't happened. But it's like the one thing that they can't sort of like
the joining has to happen. Like, that is
exactly. Yes.
Also just want to put a pin in the fact that Mr. Diabate has Air Force One and the nuclear football. Just to keep that in the back of your head.
So funny about it when he's I don't think it works anymore. But he's just having a good time.
Yeah. But at this lunch that they're having, I think I called it a dinner, I think it's a lunch, we also find out that when Carol had her outburst, it didn't just affect Zosha, because they're all connected.
The word Zosha used originally was when Carol's trying to find out how many people died. She says, a few.
11 million.
11 million people.
Yeah. And so that's a power that Carol has that she can't really control at this point because she's so angry. But it is a power she has. She affects them with her emotions.
It's such there's so many cool things the show does, because you have to remember that these are real human beings, that it's not Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's not like, well, these people, as far as we know, like, are gone. These bodies have been emptied out, right? So she can't just like scream really loud, kill everybody, and things will return to normal. It's not like, or kill the virus, right? It's not that it affects, it's like their physical bodies. So
you can't separate that.
Right. I think it's cool that they've given an already, because when we meet her with when we meet her with at the book tour, the first way we see her is interacting with her fans, and she seems genuinely warm, happy to be there. She's like joking around with them, being very sweet, and the second they get in the car, the mood shifts, and you realize it's a little bit like you mentioned misery earlier. She like is not happy with the work, but she seems very good at hiding or controlling and regulating and appearing to be in control then. And so to watch her wrestle with this much bigger thing, but to know that she is an angry kind of...
And how much of that control had to do with Helen being there.
Yes, exactly. You know? But it makes me like her even more, that like, I don't know, she does seem concerned for these, like when Zosha...
Well, she's concerned
collapses.
For Zosha. Yeah. Because it happens again. She screams when they talk about how many people died the first time.
Right.
And then everyone collapses again. And apparently the next day, which is where we end, everyone has left except for Mr. Diabate. All the other survivors are like, this bitch is weird. I don't like her. And they go home. But he's stuck around basically to ask if he can take Zosha. They're calling them their chaperones. Because he wants her to be a part of this like harem he has now. And at first, I think Carol's grossed out by this whole thing and is like, okay, fine, if you're going to go. And Zosha can't decide for herself. She's like, you have to choose.
It's interesting to watch because, I don't know, it's interesting to watch these people who are so pleasant and happy and whatever wrestle as well with tension, because she doesn't seem, it's not like a computer not being able to make the choice. Right. She seems to really wrestle with what's going on. She wants the two of them to be peaceful and to get along.
All they want is for the people to be happy.
And it, again, for
but
whatever
not
their
everyone
motivation.
Can be happy all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And whatever their motivation is for that, it does, that part of it feels real.
Yeah. Yeah.
We see that played out in episode 3, in fact.
Right.
Really
But
directly.
Carol originally lets her go and then decides, as she's watching her get on the plane with Mr. Diabate, she actually notices Helen stop before, like, she pauses. Not Helen, I keep saying Helen. She watches Zosha stop before getting on the plane and pause right at the top of the stairs. And then the next thing we see is she gets off the plane and stands in front of Zosha's plane.
So what do you think is going on there? Do you think...
I don't know. I think we're supposed to be ambivalent about it right now.
It's
like,
interesting.
Is she...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does she actually have... Are we going to find out that love actually does over... You know, like... Or
I think
is it...
Vince Gilligan is too smart for that.
Yeah. Or was that pause the others all figuring out... They seem to be okay with doing some mental gymnastics sometimes. And so maybe they figured out a way to, like, justify making the choice. Or was it a conversation Diabate had with Zosha that we weren't privy to? Like, we don't know.
Yeah. But she pause at the top of the stairs. She doesn't do the look back, but she just pauses for a second. And it's enough for Carol to be like, because Carol is fucking lonely. Like, even if this person is not an actual individual person for her to connect to, it is a companion. It's someone for her to talk to that is, like, meant to appeal to her in a way. Right.
In every way.
In every way. Yeah.
Again, they have everybody left living on Earth, and that's who they sent, so...
and then we go to episode 3, which is titled Grenade. The titles of these episodes are really funny to me. The first one is We As Us. The second one is Pirate Lady. And the third one is Grenade.
It feels to me like some of these are what the working titles were and they just kept them. Like Pirate Lady.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we start with a little flashback. I like that. So I was reading an article about the whole, like, kill the gays trope. And how this show seems to be escaping that, even though they do in the first episode kill a gay partner, because it's doesn't seem like Helen is just a device.
Yeah.
In this, like, we get more information about her. We get flashbacks and things like that. I don't know how you feel about the qualifying there, but
yeah,
it didn't prick that for me totally, because it doesn't feel like a typical, like, the fact that Carol is gay is a part of her reaction to certain things, but it's not her only characteristic.
And Helen's death doesn't come as a punishment for being with Carol or being...
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel okay about it, especially because the person at the center of our story is queer. It's not a side character. It's not...
Right.
So, yeah, I feel okay about it.
Yeah. We see them, a memory of them at an ice hotel where Carol is complaining about everything.
She's so funny. I just love and it's cool to see her
she
with
can't
someone
even
like,
enjoy the Aurora Borealis.
No, but I love that kind of looks like a screensaver.
Yeah.
But she found the person who is not put off by it. Who's like...
Right.
Yeah.
It's a memory that we'll soon realize is not hers alone anymore, which is a big part of this. Like, because all of Helen's memories are now property of the hive mind.
Yeah. I will also say they're in Norway. They're looking at the Northern Lights, which have come up in Somebody Somewhere. She wants to know if they're a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
But the other thing is Styrka, Styrka. I knew it's a Norwegian word. It means strength. My grandfather's was whatever. I'm half Norwegian. So that was my first thought when I heard her last name, was like, oh, that means strength. It's a little maybe on the nose, but knowing that it actually comes from. But when I saw them in Norway and knowing about her last name, whatever, I was like, I wonder what's going on here. But I think.
The Twilight Zone of it all.
Thing. Yeah. But
yeah,
I thought that was interesting.
But it's a nice little, like, reminder that. Well, actually, not reminder. It's a nice way of letting us know that these two have been together for a long time. They mention egg retrieval. Like, it establishes them as a long-term couple that had plans together, and, you know, had bigger picture than just a short-term partner.
2,600 days before the joining. It's like and Helen gives us such a good description of Carol's deal, because Carol's complaining and Helen says, like, this is completely your bag, you love feeling bad,
right?
Which is like, there's a difference between people who are miserable and people who, I feel like I say this all the time, but like delight in their misery. It's her, it's me, it's Pacey Witter from Dawson's Creek. You'd be miserable if you were happy.
We go back to the plane where Zosha has rejoined Carol, but Carol's still sitting in the back of the plane, which I love.
Why? Carol, you are so stubborn.
Yeah.
You're not proving any point there. You got on the plane. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
They also got 2 white men to fly the plane this time, as opposed to the TGI Fridays employee-looking person the first time. But, you know, we get in a really important moment, a couple in this episode that give us a lot of information that we didn't have. One of which happens on the plane, because she finds out that there is another survivor that they have had trouble making contact with in Paraguay that is not receptive to talking to them.
Right.
So Carol insists that they call him. They have he hangs up on her a couple of times and then curses her out in Spanish. And so she calls back and curses him out in Spanish, which is hilarious.
Fun establishing of a dynamic between two people.
Yeah.
So who have no contact. I don't know. I loved it so much. You like learn a little bit about him through that almost. It's cool.
Yep. We also then back in Albuquerque start to think about more practical things, like what is she going to eat? They try to bring her some food and she's like, I don't want you to do this. So she goes to Sprouts.
But there's such a funny line because they bring her a meal that she is set to love because they've picked probably her favorite meal ever. It was at a place she ate at when she had been somewhere to see the Indigo Girls.
Right. With Helen. And this is when she demands that they forget everything they knew about Helen, which of course they can't or won't do. I just want to put just to highlight the fact that when they are still on the plane and Carol's asking about the other survivors, we find out that a lot of them are cat lovers, which I appreciate. If we're going to repopulate the Earth, we should do it with cat lovers.
Oh, do you think it's toxoplasmosis makes you immune? Do you think that both of those...
Way more than 11 people on this planet have that.
That's a good point. You're so right.
Yeah.
She also, when Zosha knows everything that's in the fridge, and Jesus Christ, and Carol is suspicious, and then she's like, no, it's because of your person who comes to tidy up, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
She's like, half a carton of milk, and then Carol goes to drink from it, and she's like, shows what you know, fuckers, 3/4 of a carton, which is, I think, if you needed to know anything about Carol, that moment is...
Them being wrong about something makes her very happy.
Yeah, and it's such a barely wrong, but she's like, it's just very good.
Yeah. She is sort of what's the word I'm looking for? I almost said decomposing, and that is not it. She's getting worse. Mm-hmm. She's getting more and more despairing and more angry. They give her mail, which includes a Theragun, which I found out is an over $300 thing from watching this. That's
nice
insane.
Gift.
But again, every time anything comes up that has to do with Helen, where they're like, "Oh, look, this is a gift from Helen. We thought you'd like to have it." Like, just makes her more and more angry and depressed. She goes. We get a scene at Sprouts where she goes, and they've cleared everything out. We find out that they're very concerned with efficiency and consolidating resources. They've been, putting everything in a centralized location. And as soon as she freaks out about this, they mobilize.
And I'm sorry. I think it's cool to see.
It's very cool to see. But the fact that they fill an entire supermarket so she can buy some TV dinners.
Well, they just want to make her happy.
I know. But it's just so over the top absurd. Mm-hmm.
The one thing I sort of struggle with how they characterize the others, with how the show characterizes the others, is just because they're all connected and are happy now because of that, doesn't mean they don't have access to or understanding of things like sarcasm or, I don't know, irony. Like, they should be really clear about those things. And so, for example, like, Carol wanting the Sprouts back and then filling it all back up, like, feels...
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, they do seem devoid of sort of humor and sarcasm and things like that you would think they would keep, but also how much of that is an individual experience versus a collective.
Yeah, not that they'd be able to feel it, but I just think they should be able to, sort of getting ahead now, but it starts here with Sprouts. Like, they should be able to, like, recognize or access it, I think, even if they can't engage in it,
Right. But clearly they can't, because what happens after this is that they start in the interest of, so what happens next is basically she goes home, she's eating a TV dinner, and as part of this efficiency that they are moving towards, the lights start to go out.
Did you? Because she calls them, because, again, another thing that I love is she can pick up any phone anywhere and reach these people. When this happens, did you buy that it was a mistake that they turned the lights off in her cul-de-sac? They've got the best...
I know.
How do you accidentally do that? Especially when she's one of, 12 people that they are obsessed with right now.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I was trying to figure out why they would want to shut her power off for a brief period, like what that...
I can't, there's nothing there for me to grab onto, really. Yeah. I kind of accepted it in the moment as a mistake, but, because they do, obviously, as we go on, we see that there are some real limitations to what that intensive amount of knowledge can actually provide, because...
For example, in that conversation, go ahead.
Yeah, so in that conversation, Carol sarcastically asks for a hand grenade. And Zosha shows up with one because she wasn't sure if she was being sarcastic or not. And so Carol invites her in. This is like, Carol is lonely. She knows that this is not necessarily a person in the way that she understands what a person is anymore, but she still wants company. Yeah. I will say I would listen to Zosha's fun facts for quite a long time.
I love her so much.
Yeah.
The thing too that's funny is that they justify the turning the grid or whatever, like limiting because Carol donated to the Sierra Club twice. But yeah, and Carol doesn't believe that the hand grenade is real.
Right. Yeah. She asks. She also asks if they're allowed to drink, which is something that is interesting because what affects one affects the other in terms of emotions. So you've got to wonder, like, well, what about things that affect your body, but then also then affect your perception and things like that? Like, I was interested in that question of like, if she can drink wine, like, what does that do to the rest of the people?
But she says it doesn't work that way. It's not that everybody gets drunk, right? Like,
the lines are a little bit blurred still.
Well, and because now that you're saying that, I'm thinking about things like, I don't know, if somebody has, like, if my blood sugar drops, I feel like shit. And I know physically they're not connected to each other, but my mood and my...
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, where is that line? What actually is the mechanism that is connecting all of them?
Yeah. We don't know that yet, but we do know that Carol's going to pull that pin. And Zosha, the calmness and swiftness with which she grabs that grenade and throws it.
And is then throws her,
is so efficient. Just the way, the way she moves, and then throws herself on top of Carol, basically, or pushes Carol.
So near death count 2.
Yep.
And that's we don't know. No, that's not the end of the episode. Okay. Wait, yes, it is, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because she says, "Why would you give me a hand grenade?" Okay, yeah.
Right, and they end up at the hospital. The last scene is at the hospital. I think it's interesting. One thing I noticed my second time watching was that there's a lot of indication of how short this time frame has been. Like she still has Band-Aids and blisters on her hands from digging in the backyard while she's at the hospital waiting for Zosha.
Yeah.
She gets an update on her condition from the DHL guy, where she finds out that if she wanted an atom bomb, they would try to talk to her about why she would want one, but eventually they would have to give it to her.
I love when they gentle parent Carol.
Yes. Yeah. Why would you want one? Yeah. And that's kind of where we end it. So there's so many in those first 3 episodes, huge questions that are coming up already. Like you were saying, what is the division between one and the whole in terms of the way that the body affects the mind? Does Carol actually have free will? What happens if they give her an atom bomb?
I'm looking at their conversation about the atom bomb. Like, they don't, that's the other thing too, is they have been really forthcoming with her so far, like we said earlier, but they will, like, he does not want to tell her that they would give her an atom bomb. She really has to press him. He keeps trying to find ways to not.
They start lawyering her.
Yeah, 100%. That's what it feels like.
They start really kind of thinking about what they can say that is the truth. So apparently that is part of what they have to stick to, because this is, I think, when at the end of episode 3, I'm glad we divided it up this way, because at the end of episode 3, it feels like this is when Carol goes from just straight out mourning and anger to puzzling this out a little bit.
That's right.
She starts to think about, wait a minute, like, you gave me a literal grenade, like a live grenade. Okay, what does that mean about what you can and can't do, right? She starts to kind of think back about the things that have been said and things that have happened, and you can see the wheels start to turn. And I think it gives her a sense that she has some agency in this. And she starts to, like, really, her writer brain is like, okay, let's break this down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where we are.
That's where we are. I am having so much fun with this show. I'm so glad we decided to do it. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to talk about the next 3 because, again, we've already watched them, so we had to be careful here. But I think that it does make sense to break them apart this way.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, that's a good spot to ask what I wanted to ask you, which is like what, at the end of episode 3, which is right about when we decided we were going to cover this, what questions have come up for you?
Well, one big one is what we were talking about with like how much does this hive mind mean that what happens to one person affects the rest, right? The drinking, for one. I think at this point I was super curious about the others that we haven't met yet, the cat lovers, you know, the man that sings the call to prayer, the guy in Paraguay who apparently doesn't want to talk to anyone, because we've met some of them. We met 5, it turns out, but there's a total of 13, including Carol.
It's a good
number. Yeah. So yeah, at this point, that was sort of where my brain was going, was like, when are we going to meet the others? What's happening? I think another one is like, is this hive mind purely calculating? Is it like a biological organism or a virus, or is there a little bit left of the people inside them? Because like with Zosha, I think we see hints that like there's a part of her that has individual emotions, but then that could easily be the calculation of like, this is how we appeal to this person that we're trying to finish this joining and get her to work with us.
Yeah, because it's the like solve for this going to be that everybody on the planet all at the same time has to resist, has to exercise the tiny little bit of them, their individuality inside to overthrow. Yeah. Like, who knows? That's,
like how much is left, kind of.
Yeah. Or is left even, again, I don't know why I'm a little more chill about this, because I keep saying, like, they're all still in there. Like,
yeah, but in my mind, they're basically prisoners in there because they're all having to work in lockstep towards this goal.
Well, they've all decided, the other thing. In a way.
Well, no, but they haven't decided.
Well, not individually, but it was aggregated.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like, this was not a consensual interaction. Like, these people were taken over. Like, it's not like they were each asked individually, would you like to be a part of this hive mind, and said yes.
My biggest question is sort of related to all this, is like, why is Carol and why are these other 12 immune?
Yeah.
We don't know. We know that they also don't know.
Right. And also, what's the end goal?
Right. That's the other big one.
Because if they can't kill anything...
Well, because this is the important thing that the show hasn't really talked about. They can't kill anything. What's the end goal?
Yeah.
Viruses, if it's a virus, they say, it's not exactly that, is what the undersecretary whatever says. But viruses don't have goals really other than to survive and to spread. But even those aren't like you can't really think about intention in that way.
No, but like a biological imperative. Yeah,
right. But spread. The virus didn't get there because there was like some asteroid with a little bit of this sequence on it. It landed. It was sent. A code for it was sent from somewhere. And I think if I were Carol, my bigger question would be like, where the fuck did it come from? I think that's important. Like, at some point, again, 600 light years away, we don't really know. I mean, we don't know at all when, why, who, or how long it's even been repeating necessarily.
Right. Yeah, no, there's a lot of that stuff that is, I think, one of the, like, down the road longer reveals. Like, there's a lot of mini reveals that are happening of, like, how this whole thing works and what's possible, what's not, who can do what. But then the why...
Right, because there are a few, right? There's, in theory, a benevolent that thinks that getting everybody to get along, they're solving this problem on Earth. There's enslavement. There's, like you said, extinction.
I mean, there could be questions right now about what these people that have been joined or whatever, they don't really seem to have free will in the way that we think of it. Right. And so as they're stocking shelves and doing other tasks, cleaning up bodies, like it's voluntary, but is it kind of question happening?
Right. I guess it's voluntary right now because nobody has like, because I'm just imagining, what if whatever sent this, sent it ahead and they're on their way here. And then what happens when they give these people on Earth a directive, right? Are they, we don't know how they would then respond, because is it that it seems like the reason so far that they are so willing to help Carol is because they want her to join them. And so they're doing everything they can to convince her that it's good and to take care of her so that she will. If they figure out, let's say, everybody joins, what happens then with how they all interact and deal with each other and with, anything outside? I don't know.
Yeah, because it seems like right now they're very concerned with the 13 people that are not. Yeah. And concerned with efficiency and cleaning up and turning off lights and consolidating resources and all of that. So there's like a question of the long-term survival, I think, of the human race as it is in this state, given the rules that they seem to have. So, yeah, that's a lot of big questions coming up.
It's cool.
Yes, it's very cool. Like you were saying in the beginning, I think people should, we don't normally, sometimes we recommend other podcasts, but I think it's not going to interfere with your enjoyment of the show and or other podcasts to listen to the official podcast, because the thing I love about it is that they bring in people you don't normally hear from. Like the last special episode from this past week, which again, we're reporting a little in advance, was with the prop master, which is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, you don't normally hear from these people. It's always the director and the actors, but not like the location scout or something, I love to hear these other roles and what they think about. The prop master interview was super interesting. So, but make sure you're caught up before you watch those or listen to those episodes that are released in that order for a reason.
Exactly.
So yeah, next week we'll do 4 through 6, followed by our best of 2025, and then the finale, last 3 episodes.
That's right. And would love to hear people's theories so far. If they have any questions, anything they want to kind of put a pin in, if they want to get something on their record that, a theory they have or have been thinking about for the show before we get anything confirmed, you are welcome to leave proof of that on our voicemail line.
Oh, you know what else I'd like to know is what would you do if you had all of humanity and humanity's resources at your disposal? If you were inclined to be more of a Diabate than Carol, what requests would you make? I saw people talking about like making the entire crew and cast of Game of Thrones redo the last season. Or like, what places would you have them fly you to? Or
and what car would you drive if you could have literally any vehicle on the planet that could get to you? I want to talk about that at length next week because of some of the things that happen. I love that, Jodie. That's exactly what I want to hear.
Let us know what you would do. 856. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, 856-336-8986. And of course, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Send us an email.
watcherspodnj@gmail.com. Check us out on Instagram, watcherspodnj. At AQAndreaQ.
And I am Jodie_Mim on Instagram as well, JODIE_MIM. And as always, until next time, bang yourself in the head, get in the car. Go to New Jersey.